Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a framework that could really change how you connect with, well, everyone, from your colleagues to your partner. It's all about cracking the code to better communication.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You're in a meeting, you're explaining an idea, and to you, it's crystal clear. You think you're absolutely nailing it. But then you look around the room and you're met with just blank stares. Or maybe you're trying to explain to someone you love why something is so important, and all you get back is a polite nod that just screams, "I am not getting this at all." It's so frustrating. But here's the uncomfortable twist. What if the problem isn't them? What if you're speaking a language that makes perfect sense to you, but to them, it's just noise? Because from their point of view, maybe you're the one who's the idiot.
And that gets right to the heart of it. The real problem isn't about who's smart and who's not. It's about connection. We talk past each other all the time because we're working under this faulty assumption that everybody else thinks and processes the world just like we do. But they don't. And the second we get that, we can stop trying to prove who's right and start actually building a bridge. This whole idea comes from Thomas Erikson's book, Surrounded by Idiots. And it really digs into how this one shift in perspective can change pretty much everything.
So the book gives us this really simple but kind of brilliant tool to help build that bridge. It's called the 4-color code. Basically, the system breaks down our behavior and communication styles into 4 main colors. Now, I know what you're thinking. 4 colors? That sounds a little too simple. But once you start to see these patterns out in the wild, it's like someone flips on the lights in a dark room. You finally understand why you just click with some people and totally clash with others.
Okay, so first up, you've got the reds. These are your ambitious, fast-moving, get-it-done kind of people. They're all about efficiency and results. They want the bottom line, not the scenic route. So, if you're talking to a red, you've got to get straight to the point. Don't waste their time, because in their mind, that's the one thing you can't get back.
Then you've got the yellows. These are the social butterflies, the big idea people, the optimists. They run on high energy, excitement, and new possibilities. If you want to get a yellow on board, you've got to bring that excitement. Forget the boring spreadsheets. You got to paint them a picture of what could be.
Next, let's talk about the greens. These are the steady, loyal, and super reliable people in our lives. They are the anchors. What they value most is safety, harmony, and security. They really don't like conflict or being put on the spot. So to connect with a green, you need to be patient, you need to be reassuring. If you rush them, they're just going to shut down.
And finally, we have the blues. These are your analytical, detail-focused thinkers. For them, it's all about logic, facts, and precision. Vague promises, emotional arguments, that's not going to fly. If you want to convince a blue, you better have your facts straight. You need data, you need proof, you need to show them you've done the homework.
Now, of course, no one is just 100% one color. We're all a mix, a blend of all of them. But there's usually one color that's kind of driving the bus. That's our dominant style. And that's what shapes how we talk to people and, maybe more importantly, how we expect them to talk back to us. A red expects you to be direct. A blue expects you to be accurate. When that doesn't happen, we get frustrated.
So, just knowing the colors is interesting, but using that knowledge to actually adapt how you communicate, that's where the real magic happens. It's about learning to speak their language.
Think about it like this. Good communication isn't about being the loudest or even the clearest. It's about taking responsibility for being understood. That means you have to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone and meet them in theirs. And that's not being fake, that's just empathy.
So let's make this real. Imagine you have to pitch a new idea to a blue personality. The wrong way to do it is to go in all fired up, saying things like, "This is going to be amazing, you just have to trust me." They won't. The right way? You come prepared. You bring the data, the evidence, a logical plan. You've already thought through their questions and you have the answers ready. You're speaking their language.
You can actually break it down into a pretty simple 4-step process. First, just try to identify their dominant color. Second, think for a second about what that color needs to feel heard and respected. Third, you make a conscious choice to adapt your own style to meet those needs. And fourth, that's when you make a real, genuine connect.
Okay, so why does all of this matter so much? Because when we fail to connect, it's not just a little awkward,
It has real, serious costs in our lives, in our careers, in everything.
For instance, think back to a job interview that just didn't go well. Were you truly not the best person for the job, or did you just fail to connect with the interviewer? What if they were a bottom-line, get-to-the-point red, and you spent the first 20 minutes giving a super detailed blue-style history of your entire life? You probably lost them before you even got to the good stuff.
Or what about a friendship that just sort of fizzled out after a big fight? Maybe you, being a direct red, tried to tackle a problem head-on with your green friend who hates conflict. You thought you were being direct and helpful, but to them, it felt like an attack. You were speaking completely different languages, and the connection just snapped.
Seriously, how many great ideas have died on the vine? How many sales have been lost? How many projects never got off the ground? So often, it isn't because the idea itself was bad. It's because the person pitching it failed to speak the language of the person with the power to say yes. We just failed to build that bridge.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. Your words on their own are not enough. A red needs to feel a sense of progress. A yellow needs to feel the excitement. A green needs to feel safe, and a blue needs to feel confident in the logic. To really connect with people, to persuade them, to lead them, you have to talk in a way that makes them feel seen and understood. So the real question is, which language are you going to start learning first?